Hey, what's up guys, my name is Charlie. Today we're going to be doing some more requested reaction videos, and this video was requested by X4V10R. Oh boy, hopefully that's just a username, not your password, because it would be ironic if I just said your username and password all at the same time. But yeah, let's check out this video. I previously watched one of Scott the Woz's videos just recently. It was game stores. That was a very interesting and fascinating video to watch. And I'm sure whatever Scott the Woz has to say about this video, which will be console redesigns, I'm sure it's going to be fascinating. Yeah, seeing consoles being redesigned is going to be totally awesome. I'm sure they're going to be absolutely hilarious or bad. Who knows? Yeah, let's check out the video. Let's go.
Hey y'all, Scott here. Oh god, this is gonna sound so mean. I'm sorry if this comes off as negative. This redesign fucking reeks. Nintendo taught me it's
Oh
okay to be
boy.
self-conscious about my appearance, since they obviously were with
I
the
actually
3DS
like
after
this.
changing it like 12 times. Console redesigns are inevitable. Nothing's perfect the first
The
go around,
Xbox
and
One is
redesigns give console manufacturers the
X-Bone,
chance to
more like
reignite
it.
interest in
I
their
didn't like it.
system, make it with cheaper parts,
Or the
or just simply
PlayStation
make
4.
it better stylistically
I don't
and
like.
or
I'm a
functionally.
PC
Now, while some
master
console
race
redesigns
guy.
really hit it out of the
I
park and
switched to
not only
PC.
looked better but worked better, some may have only done one or the other, and some just straight up did neither. So let's take a look at console redesigns throughout history and see whether they were a worthy upgrade or make me vomit. Now, redesigns have been around since the dawn of time, i.e. the late 70s. Some redesigns acted like they were straight up sequels to the original models, like the Fairchild Channel F2 and the Intellivision 2. These
Oh
being
god, yeah, I
solid
remember
upgrades to the
those.
originals, albeit with the Intellivision 2 being made much cheaper.
Television,
The
I
Atari
fucking
2600
remember
got a
having
few
that.
facelifts, most famously
Incredible
being
thing.
the Atari 2600
Use it as a
Junior,
phone.
released in 1986. It wasn't officially subtitled the Junior, and for good reasons.
The
That
phone
name reeks
controller.
of, I'm not buying that, I'm too old for it. It was simply a redesigned 2600 released at a budget price to allure all those value seekers out there. There were a few
Damn.
other variants of the console released, one with some switches rearranged, and one with an all-black finish, nicknamed the Darth Vader model. Now, all these redesigns looked fine, but in my opinion it ain't an Atari without the wood grain finish. Redesigns start to get a bit more interesting with the
Oh
NES.
boy,
The original model is
NES.
quite the chubby piece of shit, if I do say so myself. Yes, this is one of the most iconic looking video game systems ever released, but it's a meaty little guy and is crazy prone to hardware failures. I'll
Rob
bet that
the
if you own
robot,
the original
Jesus.
NES right now, it
Does that
either
Rob the
has some
robot?
problems, doesn't work, or has been refurbished or fixed at some point. After the Super Nintendo hit the scene, Nintendo put out a redesigned NES, positioning it as a budget gaming system. It takes a few design cues from the Super Nintendo, as it's a top loader, which is what this model is generally referred to as. Now, rumor has it this system was designed as a way to combat complaints from consumers, as people would put their drinks on top of the NES like a
Yep,
coffee
Angry
table.
Video Game
They
Nerd
would fall
holds his
over
rolling
and
rock
damage
on
the
that.
system. This new one? Yeah, I can't confirm. No drinks fit on here. The top loader is the definitive official NES model. It rocks in almost every way. It's way more compact, is much more reliable, and can play stuff like PAL games. But it
Yeah.
has one glaring flaw.
Almost that.
God, that's gross. Yeah, instead of AV out, this thing only has
Oh
RF.
damn.
That's disgusting.
Yeah,
So
it's
instead
a
of the
little bit
picture
bad.
looking like this, it'll generally look like this. On top of that, being RF only means this thing is almost completely irrelevant to use on modern TVs. However, you can mod it for AV out. The problem is you definitely need some modding skills or need to spend a pretty penny to have somebody else do it for you. However, various people called Nintendo back then and complained about the lack of AV out on this system. In response, Nintendo offered to officially mod their consoles to have AV out, so they're doing
Well, there's
official versions of the
HDMI
system
for the
with AV.
GameCube.
However,
Modified.
they are incredibly rare. It's just so odd that it was like this
People have
straight out of
modified the
box. The
GameCubes.
Japanese Famicom version of this
Or
redesign was
HDMI
literally
support,
called the Famicom AV.
it didn't ship
It
with
included
HDMI.
AV out, and it was a big part of the branding. If you're willing to spend a ton of money to not
Before
only buy this
HDMI,
system
it
but
was
mod
the
it as
AV.
well, you might
H.
want to consider just picking up the high-end aftermarket NES systems with HDMI, like the AVS from Retro USB or the
AVS,
Analog
yeah.
NT Mini. Similar to the NES's revision, the Sega Master System 2 was a budget console redesign, but it really doesn't hold a candle to the original release in my opinion. Some Master System games came on cards, which you would insert into a slot in the original model. Hope you weren't planning to do that on your Master System 2. This only plays the cartridge-based games, which, I mean, the majority of games were released on cartridge, so it's not a huge deal. But overall, the original model plays all the games, and the design is just way more appealing to me personally. The dude just kind of looks awkward and generic. The original isn't stunning by any means, but it has more personality. Sega decided to strike again in the terrifying world of
boy.
redesigns with the Genesis, getting 3 major revisions.
Genesis.
The original Sega Genesis
Sonic
model
comes
is
to
big,
mind.
bold, and screams the company who made Sonic Forces loud and proud. The second model? feels a bit tamer. I grew up with this model, and overall everything feels a
So
bit
did I.
more refined and evened out. However, I do think the Model 1 has a lot more character. It's just so bold. I do have a soft spot for the Model 2, but the Model 1 just screams what the Genesis was all about. And if we're
Genesis
talking
does
character,
what
well, the Model
Nintendo
3
don't.
has that in spades. Yes, the runt of the
I prefer
litter.
the
Model 3
NES.
was actually produced by Majesco under Sega's license. And it's always wildly uncomfortable to me when game consoles are about the same size as the
Or the
games.
SNES,
This one doesn't work
Super
with the Sega
Nintendo.
CD or 32X
Oh,
add-ons.
God,
It's
I
just a
remember this.
tiny, cheap version of the Sega Genesis. I mean, it works, but now I'd say it's really nothing more than a novelty, a collector's piece, really. The SNES got a redesign late in its life. Blam, this thing is irrelevant. I think it's
Jesus.
fine, but I don't really see any real reason to use this compared to the original model. Unlike the NES top loader, at least it has AV out. However,
AV,
that's all it
nice.
has. The original SNES allowed for
I never
a lot
had
more
that.
different
I
video
didn't even know it
outputs, so in the
existed.
end,
The
this
fuck
redesign
is
just
that
feels
thing?
like it's a downgrade across the board. I think the design is kind of boring and it's functionally worse than the
Never
original.
seen that
The
version
PS1
before.
and the PS1.
Oh, the
Yes,
PS, the
original
slim
PlayStation
version.
redesign
I
is
had
just called
both.
the PS1, and I had this model as a kid. But I
Yeah.
didn't know about the LCD screen attachment until way
Yeah,
later. My God!
there was a
I'm
screen
personally
for
fine
that, I
with both
remember.
of these designs. You can't really go wrong with either of them. The
I had
PlayStation
both.
brand of consoles
It was
would
totally
continue
awesome.
to carry the torch of the redesign. Every single one has gotten a facelift, and the first to continue this tradition was the PlayStation 2. This is just one of those before and after ads. Now this is a redesign done right. They literally smashed an entire PS2 into something like 10% of the size of the original. The first model was garbage. Look at this thing.
Yeah,
Fell
it
apart
was a
with the first
brick.
swings of a hammer. Now the PS3 was interesting because the systems got better, but worse at the same time. The original
the
version says,
disc
I'd be
slider
$600
was
bucks to play Ridge Racer 7.
bit.
This guy had so much useless garbage crammed into it that just made the price skyrocket. Like, look at all the card readers it had. Why do you need these? The PS3
yeah.
Slim was released as a way to reinvigorate consumer interest in the platform at its lowest point, and it did a great job at it. The price was affordable, and the design was much more compact and attractive. However, it ditched PlayStation 2 backwards compatibility.
Oh,
Certain
that
varieties of
sucks.
the original model
That-
had it,
the
but
Nin-
with the release of the
the
Slim,
Nintendo
PS2
Wii did
disc
that.
support was gutted
The
entirely.
black
But at
version,
very least,
the
PS1
newer
games could
version,
still be used.
you can't play the
PS3
GameCube
Super
games
Slim,
on it.
though? Yeah, this
It
was
sucks.
pointless. Talk about an odd release.
But the
A
original
third console
Nintendo
revision is
Wii,
never
the
most
white
common
one,
thing
you can
out
play the
there.
GameCube
This
games
just
on.
felt like they were cheaping out. There wasn't much wrong
Hate
with the
the
PS3 Slim, and to
non-backwards
just replace it with
compatibility.
this wasn't the greatest. I gotta hand it to him though. Can't do
Yep,
this on other
slidey.
consoles. The Xbox
I enjoyed the
360 had a
slidey,
similar trip down redesign lane.
slidey
The
thing.
original model,
Disc.
it was terrible. I mean, it just didn't function well. It failed constantly. The 360S,
Red
on
Ring
the
of
other
Death
hand,
comes to mind.
boy, this is a good console. The 250GB model came with a glossy finish. and
that's
I'm
the
pretty
one I
happy
had.
cheaped out and got the 4GB
I had the white
model
one
with
and
this
the
beautiful
black glossy one.
non-fingerprint heavy shell. They redesigned it again to look like the original Xbox One. Why? This is another design that just kind of cheaped things up a bit. They removed
Yeah.
some ports and it reeks of first Xbox One model. I mean, that's what they were going for, but still. The S will always be the best one in my opinion. Next
yeah.
up, the Nintendo Wii. And if you
Nintendo
haven't caught
Wii.
on yet, Nintendo really only redesigns their successful consoles. The N64, GameCube, and
Yep.
Wii U, yeah, those stayed the same throughout their entire life. The Wii's first release is perfect for what the Wii was meant to
Yeah,
do.
it played
The Wii's
GameCube
second
games
release
as well.
got
It
rid
was-
of the stand, GameCube backwards compatibility,
Yep.
and was meant to be laid on its side. That was a worthless redesign. Speaking of worthless, the Wii Mini. This was test released in Canada around late 2012 until it got a wide
Wii
release
Mini,
just
I
a
remember
year
that,
later.
Jesus.
This took things a step forward and removed internet access. Jesus Christ. At least the Wii Mini looks more interesting than the second redesign, but none of these models make a case to be bought compared to the first one. I also think the Mini really missed out on a huge opportunity with the lack of internet access. 2012 was the time streaming boxes really started to hit it big. Popping an HDMI port on the Wii Mini, giving it internet access, and positioning it as a streaming box that could play Virtual Console and Wii games could have actually been a huge hit. It did come with a Wii Remote, Nunchuck, and Mario Kart Wii here in North America for $100, and if you did
it's
the math at the time,
alright.
those three things alone would add up to around $100, so you'd be getting
alright.
the Wii Mini for basically nothing. That didn't stop anybody from not caring about it though. The PS4 and Xbox One have both been guilty of receiving facelifts, and in the Xbox One's case,
Xbox
it
One,
just
the
kept getting better and
VHS
better.
player.
The original Xbox One
Fucking
is
brick.
terrifying. If Microsoft is capable of releasing a VCR in 2013, who
I watched-
knows what they can do?
I watched the
system
release
barely had
trailer
any
for this
character
thing.
and felt like
It was
something to
shocking.
sit next to the DVR under your TV and nothing else.
TV,
Now, the original
TV,
PS4
TV.
comparison,
You could watch
ooh,
TV.
la, la. This thing
TV.
isn't perfect. All these nooks and crannies can build up a lot of dust,
Fucking
but the
E3.
PS4 has a unique design that's still fully functional.
TV
and then they
on it.
made this. The PS4 Slim always felt so awkward to me. The tiny little sliver at the top just feels weird. The Xbox One's revision, the One S on the other hand, Oh, this thing looks sleek. It looks modern. It's everything a redesign should be.
Yeah.
Because not only
I
does
think they
it
made
look
it
better,
smaller
but
as
it was
well.
upgraded under
In
the
another.
hood as well with some 4K support. Now in terms of the high-end versions of each console, the PS4
4K is
Pro,
more
it
slimmer or
feels like they
something
were
like that.
thinking, how do we convey to people that this is a more powerful PS4? And then somebody just said, add another sliver. Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of this triple-decker design. I prefer it to the Slim, but not by much.
Yeah.
The Xbox One X, on the other hand, is like a tweaked Xbox One S, and I think it looks lovely. The S has a bit more character with all those holes, but the X still looks really good. Now just you wait, because we can't possibly skip over the handhelds.
Oh, the
Original Game Boy
handhelds.
line got slimmer
Nintendo
and
Game
better with the
Boy.
Game Boy
Yes.
Pocket and received
Oh,
a
Game
backlight
Boy
with
Color
the
was
Japanese
totally awesome.
exclusive Game Boy Light. I
Game
always
Boy
consider the
Lights,
Game Boy
Game Boy
Color to be its
Color,
own
yep.
system, but many consider it a half step, and it's more of a hardware revision rather than a full-on sequel to the original Game Boy. Either way, it
guess.
continued where the Game Boy Pocket left off, now with a color screen. The Game Boy Advance is what we
Game
call
Boy
a full-blown
Advance.
sequel, and actually became playable with the release of the Game Boy Advance SP.
And then
A
the
full
Nintendo
backlight,
DS sort
clamshell
of
design,
went in
and
the way.
rechargeable battery make this the definitive Game Boy, with an even better backlight coming in a revised model. And then things got effing puny. The Game Boy Micro was a really cool
Game
take on
Boy
the Game Boy
Micro.
Advance. The problem being, that's all it was. It couldn't play original Game Boy or Game Boy Color, just Game Boy Advance games. The PSP had a fair amount of releases, with the 1000 model being the first, and the 2000 and 3000 models both
Yeah.
being upgrades, but having
God.
pros and cons to each. Some prefer the 2000 screen to the 3000 screen, for example. The PSP Go was a mistake. It was a purely digital console, ahead of its time definitely, but it just did not take off. At least it wasn't the E1000, which is just like the Wii Mini, stripping a ton of features including Wi-Fi. Thankfully, the PS Vita has a pretty decent redesign, with the
Oh,
second model
PS
featuring
Vita,
a
of
slightly
course.
lesser screen,
Jesus.
but with most features still intact.
I forgot
I've
that
already
even
talked about
existed.
the DS line before, so
Yeah,
I'll keep it
Nintendo
brief.
DS.
Oh, no.
I had one of
Amazing.
these.
Pretty good, but
Amazing.
they got rid of the Game Boy Advance backwards
Played the animal
compatibility,
game
and
with the
almost all
dog.
exclusive features of this console can be accessed on the 3DS,
Feed
which
the
would play
dog and
DS
play
games, so what's
fetch
the
with it.
point? Big. Now the 3DS. The original model had a lot of little design quirks. The bottom screen would leave a mark on the top screen, a bunch of unnecessary switches and lights, and the glittery finish. All of this was fixed on the 3DS XL. While it was positioned as more of an alternative option to the regular 3DS, it fixed a lot of the little issues with it and made it a more solid system. However, I do have to say, the original 3DS XL feels a lot cheaper than the original 3DS.
I think I smashed my Nintendo DS.
No. The
I was
2DS
angry and I
budget version
got a
of the
hammer and
3DS,
smashed the
without
shit out of
3D
it
or
when I was like
clamshell design. There were millions of people who wanted to play one
so
or two
pissed at
specific
one of the
games on
games.
the 3DS, and that
I'm-
was
I'm
about
not
it.
joking,
And the
I'm
2DS
serious.
helped them do that for a crazy
I had
low
an anger
price.
problem back then.
I don't like this one. I know a lot of people actually find the 2DS more comfortable to hold, but not me, sadly. The new 3DS and new 3DS XL were hardware revisions of the original models, improving them both in almost every way, offering face tracking 3D, more buttons, and a nipple. I've never been a huge fan of this C-stick here, but I'd rather have it than not at all. The regular new 3DS is beautiful. I love almost everything about this design. Plus, it
I
has
never
interchangeable
knew why it
faceplates.
needed a camera.
Oh man, I really prefer the bigger screens of the new 3DS XL. It's
Take
a
that
trophy
camera away
problem.
and you could
The
save
new
yourself 20
2DS
bucks.
XL. Nope, that's not a joke. In reviews, a lot of people claim this was the definitive 3DS. Did they even play this thing? Like, it's fine, it works, but I think too many people just made a big deal about the top screen looking like a smartphone and saying, wow, this thing is great. It's not my favorite to play on. Why are the speakers down here, where my palms would be? The
Yeah,
new 2DS
blocking the
XL's
sound.
placement in the 3DS line is a bit weird as well. It's for those people who don't want to cheap out completely with the regular 2DS, but not spend 30 extra bucks for a new 3DS XL. Okay. Console redesigns can be a real make it or break it moment for us when it comes to actually deciding whether or not to buy a console, and they can also help a console retain
Nintendo U
relevancy,
comes to
not
mind.
fade away
My
like
God,
a
that
fad,
was
like the
disappointing.
Tamagotchi or leprosy. Me personally, I have 3 major deciding factors on picking up a console redesign or not.
Okay. It's which it's into there. It's fucking yellow.
Yeah, checks out.
Oh boy. Okay, that's, I believe that's the end of the video. It's just playing some wonderful music. Okay, that's the end of the video. Yeah. Damn, I remember, you know, the Nintendo GameCube didn't have, HDMI cable back in the day. It was, I believe it was like an AV cable or AVI cable, whatever the hell you call it. I don't know, it was all jumbly wires. All I remember is that there was a shit ton of wires coming from the back of my TV. I mean, yeah, it was before sort of the days of HDMI. I think actually there was some people on YouTube modifying the GameCube and installed like a HDMI chip and something like that to make games in HD. And then they spend like $150 or something like that, or $200 for the chip and all that sort of stuff. And then I go, why not just do a fucking emulator? Just play an emulator game of a GameCube game on your PC or something like that. Just get a GameCube controller and play it on the PC. Fuck it. Don't spend that much money. If you're gonna be modifying a classic console like that, like the GameCube, don't do that. That's sacrilegious. Sacrilegious. You can't just mutilate a console like that. But some people have to if they're doing like want to play their games in higher resolution and higher quality, or doing game reviews and they got record a screen and they don't want to have to record it on their fucking like VHS tape, so to speak. Whatever the case, yeah, you go for it. Modify your consoles and all that. But yeah, I mean, that's quite shocking because I'm so familiar with so many consoles. I've owned so many consoles over the years. I've owned quite a lot of games. I mean, I have had a lot of games. I'm a game collector. I'm an addiction collector. I've had so many games and I've played so many games. I don't anymore. I don't have physical copies of games and stuff anymore. Everything I own is now digital. I've gone into the sort of digital age because I think, well, because I'm just a digital person now. I sort of just changed. I sort of just got rid of all my games over time and just went into the digital phase, so to speak. I sort of regret it now because having something physical is much more superior to having like digital games. I mean, like if you have like tons of games or physical games, that'd be totally cool. You can show them to other people, but if it's all digital, it's not as impressive, is it? But yeah, I mean, just seeing all these consoles again, I mean, it's totally awesome. Brings me back to my childhood, remembering the Nintendo Entertainment System, GameCube, Nintendo 64, and all these classic consoles. My God, I can't believe it. And the ColecoVision, of course. How can I forget that? Fucking ColecoVision, that fucking phone thing, that 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, that fucking phone dial thing. Jesus. But yeah, this video was totally awesome because it brought me back to my childhood, and I love that. I love going back to my gaming hood. But yeah, if you like this video, make sure to give a like, comment down below, and make sure to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.